For more on the Israel-Iran conflict, let's bring in Daniel Levy. He's president of the U.S. Middle East Project, and he joins us from London. Daniel, you're someone who understands the region, knows the region all too well. What do you think U.S. President Donald Trump, with his unpredictability and what we know is happening right now between Iran and Israel, is it your sense that Donald Trump is going to get the United States directly involved in this war?
Well, reading the signals that we are receiving, that seems to be the direction of travel. That has been the intention of the Israeli government. In fact, there is near unanimity, as near as one ever gets to unanimity, certainly inside the Jewish Israeli Zionist community, that the way this ends with Israel achieving what it claims to have set out to achieve, it is only possible.
So what is Israel trying to... I'm sorry, I interrupted you, Daniel. Go ahead. I interrupted you.
No, that's only possible if there is the direct engagement of the US, and therefore Israel is pushing with everything it has to make that possible, try to provoke Iran. Already this is partly America's war. They're carrying out active defensive exercises to help the Israelis, but can they pull America in? They're relying on the extent of their ability to take their message to the highest levels in America, and I think they're relying on the gullibility of the Americans themselves. But you were going to ask something. Apologies.
No. I was just going to ask you, if the United States does get involved offensively, there's a lot of concerns, a lot of fears. What are the risks and implications, and how worried should we be about the possibility of a much, much bigger conflict here?
Well, I think we should be plenty worried already. You've had the attack yet again by Israel on a sovereign state. It's a violation of the UN Charter. You've had attacks on nuclear sites, which the IAEA Director General has said endangers. It's a violation of the rules around how one behaves in those states. It's created real dangers. But this would take it to the next level. You already, of course, have what has been going on in Gaza, the ethnic cleansing, the attempted genocide, the violation of ICJ and ICC rulings and arrest warrants. Why does this take this to another level? It's because if Iran is put in that position of being pinned to the corner, they apparently do have some asymmetric capabilities, which they would almost be forced to use. That's when the energy trade could be more dramatically affected. We've always heard about the Straits of Hormuz closing down. Is that something that could come into play? Iran has really redeveloped its relations with the Gulf. The Gulf have been intervening to try and prevent this escalating. We have the Chinese-mediated talks and rapprochement between Iran and Saudi. But if America dismisses all of that, goes in, or if Israel continues, then you may see the Gulf pulled into this if Iran is, looking at what its last options are. The other thing we have to think about is, I don't think there's an intention here of troops on the ground. But let's say they push this further. I think the Israeli goal isn't some kind of neat regime change. It's to create another failed state. That's their model for the region. Chaos, instability.
But what do they have to gain by that, Daniel?
90 million.
What do they have to gain by instability and chaos in Iran?
Israel is on, at the moment, is on this path to try to establish regional hegemony. Now, to do that, they have thus far relied heavily on the US. They have not offered any political project to the region that people could get on board with. They're saying that with hegemony comes the weakening, dismantling, creating of chaos in every state that could pose any kind of a challenge, and the continued aggressions and war crimes against Palestinians. So that's not a vision people can get on board with. But they see that the chaos model tends to work for them. And I don't think it's a smart move. I don't think it's a realistic move. I don't think it brings Israel security in the long term. But that, unfortunately, is the kind of messianic extremist mindset running the country right now. The rest of the region, I think, looks at this and not only says in the short term, how do we shield ourselves against this, but in the long term, what kind of armaments does that require if you're Turkey, if you're in the Gulf, or if you're elsewhere. So this is a very escalatory thing across the region. And as you point out, it doesn't end in the region. This could be quite devastating for Trump's presidency. That's why, as your previous correspondent discussed, there is this real fight within Trump world, within MAGA world, and then there are the implications for the rest of the global economy, potentially.
Do you think Donald Trump could have stopped Benjamin Netanyahu if he wanted to?
Like that. Israel absolutely relies on the US. The armaments, the political cover. This is not something, look, 20 months of genocide in Gaza couldn't have happened without the US giving the green light, giving the weapons, giving the political, diplomatic, economic cover. This certainly couldn't have happened. We know the US was told this would happen. It seems they were part of the decoy deception. Another danger when America deploys political negotiations as cover for the military action of an ally, sending a terrible signal to the potential to do diplomacy anywhere. But the very short and easy answer to your question, could they stop this? Could they have stopped it from happening? Can they stop it from continuing? Is an unequivocal yes.
Daniel, finally, my question to you is, do you think diplomacy at this point is still possible? I mean, the comments coming out of Donald Trump, one day he says one thing, the next day he says another, very unpredictable. And let's not forget, it was Donald Trump who withdrew the United States from the landmark nuclear agreement reached in 2015. He pulled U.S. out of that one in 2018, called it the worst deal ever.
Yeah, and that kind of tells us where we are, Asya. So on the one hand, is it possible? Absolutely, because he can flip on a dime, the American president. So you could wake up tomorrow morning and discover that there are American and Iranian delegations talking to each other. But he tore down the first deal. Israel is a nuclear armed state, is not a signatory to the NPT. Iran was not going in the direction of nuclear weapons. Is itself a signatory of the NPT, unlike Israel. This didn't have to happen, but Trump pulled out of those negotiations. I mentioned that because what has now happened is the odds are so stacked against the success of diplomacy. America has made such a mockery of the negotiations. The Israeli side is trying also to drive home the message. Iran is weak. Don't give them anything in negotiations. If they come to negotiations, you can get Iran to capitulate in the negotiating room. That doesn't happen. Negotiations have to give wins to all parties. Negotiations have to find common ground. Is Trump and are his negotiators capable of pulling that off? I don't want to say no chance, but I think we have to understand that the prospects are really not great. And I hope they see sense, and that's not the case. And this terribly destabilizing event is brought to an end, and we also bring an end to the genocidal activities in Gaza.
All right, Daniel Levy, as always, we appreciate your take on this. Thank you so much.